Hey there, it's Melissa at Twin Oaks Family Farm. We've got a little flock of 100 broilers. We ordered 100 broilers. They came in October 18th, 2023. Actually had 102 come in when they hatched and were shipped. So it's day 7 now with this flock, October 24th, 2023. And we start with day 1 on the hatch day, the ship date, when they arrive here. So we're up to day 7. We have had one that died here in the beginning of production. We had kind of identified it as a runt probably by day 5 and figured that it probably wouldn't keep up with the flock, so ended up losing that one. And we've actually had a couple others that I was kind of questionable on. They showed a little bit of lack of mobility as an issue about day 5 and 6. So they've done okay so far though. So they're still hanging in there on day 7. And in fact, the mobility issue has improved a little bit. So we have hopes they're going to do okay. But we wanted to do a video on day 6. Life is what life is, and didn't get it done. So it's day 7. So we're going to go in here. I've been in here several times already here on day 7 of this flock's production. We've been at 101 with having lost the one. And so the things that we're focusing on are keeping the ambient temperature agreeable to the chicks, which is to say they want to feel an ambient temperature of about 95 degrees right now. A chicken needs to be able to regulate its body temperature to about 107 degrees. New chicks can only do that to about 103 degrees, so they need that little bit of extra supplemental heat. But in the first 10 to 14 days, every day, they get a little better at managing that on their own from internally. So we provide heat lamps for the supplemental heat. And in our brooder situation, we're able to sort of set up the heat lamps suspended from the ceiling and more or less create like a blanket of warmth, a blanket of virtual warmth from the heat lamps. And we try to size that blanket of virtual warmth to the number of chicks that we have, because we know intuitively that the chicks are basically going to stay where the ambient temperature feels good to them, as long as they have access to that. So ours aren't really confined down into a brooder. They're in a space where we create that virtual blanket of warmth with the heat lamps, and we have room as they grow rapidly to increase that space of virtual warmth and give them more area. So they're, in a space they can kind of fill out into gradually as they grow. But they grow very rapidly. So if you do start them in a tight confinement, you need to be prepared like within days to be able to expand their area slightly. So so we'll probably end up adding heat lamps. We haven't had to yet. We've had weather kind of all over. They've had some nights that were in the 30s, but we're looking at a week now, starting here on day 7. We're looking at a week forecast that looks like daytime temperatures in the high 70s and evening temperatures just in the 50s. So I actually had approached the building. We're going to go in and take a look at the flock. Last I was in here, there was 101, and they all look good. But I had approached the building and already opened up the man door. I'm going to turn the camera to where you can see the man door. Now at this point, I'm going to leave the man door open the rest of this afternoon because the temperature is very nice, and that helps us create more airflow in and through this space that they're in, and helps manage, like the humidity in there and the lighting intensity in there. So those are another couple things that we're paying. I want to turn the camera around so you can see, the door opening and what I'm talking about with that. And we have the blocker board there that prevents them from coming out, and we're around the outdoor space here, so we'll be able to be monitoring any awareness of predators, which we don't think is going to be an issue the way the setup is. So we'll get a look at that. But another couple things we're monitoring are like the lighting intensity and their mobility. So every time we're in the building, we're actually encouraging the birds to get up and move around, even if it's just for a few seconds, even if it's just long enough to see them stand up and move, and then encourage them to move back under the heat lamps. We want to see them stand up and move, because usually with young chicks, really with any age of these broiler chickens, meat production chickens that we're raising like on a quick turnaround, like 5 or 6 weeks, or even up to 7 to 10 weeks, one of the first indicators that we have an issue with a bird is lack of mobility. So if we are monitoring for that constantly, sometimes we can get ahead of an issue. And like I said, those two that we saw, kind of questionable, not moving well, we've worked with them and done some individual attention with them, but kept them in the flock and been moving the flock around inside its confinement, and they're doing better than they were. So that's helpful. So the mobility, the lighting, and actually opening the door, get some strong light in there. It's okay to reduce the lighting level, the intensity of the lighting level a little bit with broilers, to sort of put like a stay or a hold back on overeating. But on the other hand, we don't want to hold them back too much. We want them going to the food and eating, and we want them eating high protein, because they are going to grow rapidly. So we need the protein going in to support the rapid growth. And if we're not supporting the rapid growth with enough feed and appropriate protein, the bird's going to suffer, because the bird is predisposed to that growth, and it needs the nutritional support to do that. We also need them going to water. And so lighting stimulates birds. So we do need to have enough lighting that they are stimulated to continually go to the feed and go to the water. But we can use it. We can use it to regulate that if we sometimes dim the lighting some or something. And birds that end up like in a chicken tractor, like a part-time pastured situation, if they're outdoors overnight at all, you do end up imposing, that overnight length of dark. So that regulates how much time they're spending at the feeders. But that's why it's ever more important during the daytime to keep them moving, keep them going to water. So first, taking a look at how we're, we just got an opening there, and that's letting some light in. We're going to go in and take a look at these chicks. So as I said, 101 is what I had last time I was in here. As you can see, we do have the heat lamp still in place, but as you can tell by the way the birds are spread out, they've warmed up to the point where they don't feel a need to stay parked under those heat lamps. So the outdoor temperature is probably about 75. I mean, we've even got birds over here way away from the lights. But, part of that, we go with, they know if they need to be warmer, and the access to the lights is there. And they know there's warmth there, and it attracts them if they're chilly. So if they feel cool, if they feel too cool, they'll go to where the heat is. If they're under the heat and they feel too warm, they'll move away from where the heat is. And that's why I say it is important that they have enough room to get away from the heat source if they choose to. And so one of the things that we keep handy in the chicken pen is just a Durafork, a plastic pitchfork, and we do this gently. We're not trying to scare the birds or stress the birds, but we actually will, like if we come in and they're all under the lights and there's not a lot of activity, we'll just take the pitchfork and kind of just slowly take it along where we see birds. We could either use this or an empty feed sack, but we're just trying to get enough reaction from the birds that they move. So like back here in the corner, we've got a couple sitting down. I just want to see that they get up and move. And if I see a bird that just kind of like refuses to get up, I'm going to take a closer look at that bird. That's going to concern me. Okay. So these birds they all got up. And so I'll do the same thing, with the birds over on the other side. Here's one laying, well, no, we got up. So, we'll probably be adjusting the height of these heat lamps soon. Probably be lifting them. You can see like this one over here is pretty close to the bedding material. We've needed to do that because we've had those nights drop into the 30s. But at any rate, we'll probably be able to adjust them up a little bit this week. and then see where we're at over the weekend. Oh, and I want to try to fit this in, give you a resource. You can do some research on brooding chicks at extension.uga.edu. That's the University of Georgia Extension. Look for an article called The Environmental Factors to Control When Brooding Chicks. I think that's the name of the article.